Turn heads and bring the hype with a custom hype chain from Lotwin. Perfect for youth sports, fantasy football, or just flexing your pride. Go to Lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD for 10% off your order. That's Lotwin.com, promo code TCCPOD for 10% off. Get your custom hype chain and get hype with Lotwin. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for August 14th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast. Let's just forget this week happened for the Phillies. Not a good weekend at all. Not very good with scoring runs. I think they were shut out for 25 of the 27 innings out in Cincinnati. Just yesterday was one to forget. And Christopher Sanchez wasn't bad. It wasn't the starting pitching, but they managed 3 hits. They could not do anything against Reds pitching. And now the Reds do have good pitching. However, that's cause for concern, especially in the postseason, as we've seen with this team. When the pitching gets better, they do tend to do exactly what they just did. Defensively, they were terrible. The Little League home run given up that really kind of started to break the game open. Jordan Romano, if he doesn't pitch again in a game, I would be okay with that. He gave up a grand slam. Just an overall just forgettable trip to Cincinnati. You have all the talk about Kyle Schwarber throwing out the first pitch with his dad, or catching the first pitch with his dad, saying that. And I personally, I think a lot is being made of that. And it is what it is. It was a cool moment as a parent. Obviously, be a cool thing to throw out the first pitch at a game and have your son, who is a Major League Baseball player. So I wasn't that concerned about that. People are making a big deal about his comments. I talked about that the other day. I don't see, like, the question was, are his friends asking him to come back and play for Cincinnati? Of course they are. And what's he going to say? Yeah, like and he said, if it doesn't work out, I think, one, it's a negotiation ploy that he did when answering that question. I think he's handled the whole thing well, putting pressure on the Phillies to bring him back. I think he wants to come back. Obviously, fans want him back. The team has made it clear they want him back. But to kind of blame him for something that the media took as a story and ran with it, I don't know. I mean, yeah, he probably did say that on purpose and there was some thought behind it. But, I mean, who wouldn't want to go back and play for their hometown team? I mean, that's like a no-brainer. You hear it all the time. Jimmy Rollins talked for years about going back to Southern California and play. We didn't make a big deal about that. And eventually he was able to do that. So, all of that to say, let's forget about Cincinnati. Let's get the hell out of there. They're in D.C. for a 4-game series this weekend against the Nationals. Hopefully that is just what the doctor ordered to help get things right. Side note, Christopher Sanchez did set a career high in strikeouts, and there's still 6 to 8 weeks left in the season, so he should shatter that. But just defensively bad. Yesterday I asked, should we be concerned with the pitching? Should we be concerned with the hitting too? But speaking of that question of the day yesterday, it was split 50-50 about being a blip on the radar or being cause for concern. So thank you to everybody who reached out with that. There was talk. I heard an interview with Rob Thompson during the rain delay. I don't know when the interview took place, but a 6-man rotation is on the table. The way I got it from him, essentially, it's going to come down to Zach Wheeler, because he talked about guys getting out of their routines and everything. And for the most part, the only one I've ever heard complain about extra days off is Zach Wheeler. But Zach Wheeler also is one of the guys who could use the extra day off with the shoulder soreness. So we'll see how that plays out. But it does appear Aaron Nola likely will be called up this weekend, probably looks like it's still to be determined for Sunday, but looks like he could get the start on Sunday. Tonight it's Jesus Luzardo, then Taiwan, followed by Zach as of now. So we'll see how that plays out. But I'm all about the six-man rotation. So that is today's question of the day. For the rest of the regular season, should the Phillies employ a six-man rotation? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. That's 267-495-8531. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off your chest. I'm all for it. And I think with the way they had to overuse them earlier in the season, it makes sense to kind of give them a couple extra days off throughout the month of August and then into September, and then go from there to see where we are. The other news yesterday, Bohm hit a home run. Apparently it was a pretty good shot up in Lehigh, or I guess they're away. But for the Iron Pigs, looks like he's going to get a couple more starts and could join the team either in D.C. or next week in Washington. So help is on the way, but just a forgettable series with the Reds. And like I said, hopefully the Nationals are just what the doctor ordered, but you can't be giving up a Little League home run unless they're just trying to cheer on the Glenmore Eagles, who, by the way, do take the field tonight against the Midwest team from South Dakota. That game is at 7 on ESPN. We will be watching here in this house. That will be the primary focus. Phillies will be second, but looking forward. So good luck to the Glenmore Eagles from my home county of Chester County, right? Not far from where my parents live now and where I grew up. So we will be rooting for them. A lot of people I know live out that way, so their kids are either playing or are involved in the Little League. So definitely have more of a rooting interest in this one than I normally do. So good luck to the Glenmore Eagles. And whatever you do, don't do what the Phillies did when they gave up the Little League home run. It's the only advice I can give you, and I think it's pretty sound advice. All right, the Eagles yesterday had their first joint practice with the Browns. Not a good day overall. And I guess depending on who you look at, I've seen some people say the Eagles won, quote unquote, barely. I read in the Inquirer, I believe it was Jeff McClain said, I don't care what anybody says, it's impossible to know who won. All I know is the Eagles didn't look good at all. Jalen Hurts was very inconsistent. The cornerback job is still wide open. Keely Ringo had a rough day. Dory Jackson's not stepping up and running away with it. And Jacorian Bennett didn't look good either. So it's there for the taking. Whoever wants it can have it. It just appears that nobody wants it. Overall, though, the defense did have a good day. Specifically, the line. Joe Flacco was talking about just how good the Eagles' defensive line is. The linebackers seem to have played well, but the bigger concern is overall, from all reports I'm hearing, Jalen Hurts has not had a good camp. So last year he had a great camp and came out flat. So maybe having a bad camp means he's taking more chances and will work through it and come out. But just give me the real football. But they play each other again today. Yet tomorrow will be kind of a closed walkthrough practice. And then Saturday night, Browns, Eagles preseason. Nobody's going to play. But it's a preseason game. I guess it's, though, concerning only because the coaches and players and because nobody plays in the preseason, they talk about how important these joint practices are. And to see them struggle once again against the Browns, kind of disheartening. So we'll see how today is a new day. Hopefully it goes better for the Eagles. And then a big announcement for the Eagles Hall of Fame. Bucko Kilroy and Malcolm Jenkins will be inducted into the Eagles Hall of Fame. Looks like that ceremony will be I thought I saw against the Bears, the Black Friday game. So looking forward to that. Malcolm Jenkins, obviously a huge part of the Super Bowl 52 winning team. So good to see him get in, and it's crazy now that those guys are starting to retire. Like Fletcher's going to get in, Brandon's going to get in. Who else from those teams? Obviously Lane is still playing, and Kelsey obviously will get in. Nick Foles probably will get in at some point as well. So shout out and kudos to both Bucko Kilroy and Malcolm Jenkins. If you're not familiar with Bucko Kilroy's game, look him up. He played in the 50s and 60s, I believe. All-time name, but one of the better players as well in Eagles history. So go check him out, kids. That's your history assignment for today. All right, let's do some housekeeping. Follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok. On Instagram, @PhillyJimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont, and continue to spread the word as we grow this thing. Outsmart the algorithm. That is the phrase of the summer. We're doing great things and getting there. So thank you. If you're a new listener, welcome. And then stay tuned. The finishing touches. Hopefully next week I'll be able to give more details of the Eagles pregame show that I'm going to be doing with my brother. Just kind of finalizing some things on that. So stay tuned for details on that. The Union are moving on in the U.S. Open Cup with a 3-2 win over the New York Red Bulls. Ty Barabo, Milan Ilaski, and Owethu Makanya all scored goals for the Union. Makanya's came in the 89th minute. They love scoring late, and just they move on now to the semifinals. They will take on Nashville, down in Nashville on September 16th in the semifinals. Be a nice way, get the U.S. Open Cup trophy, get the Supporters Shield, and then go out and win the MLS Cup. But they are back in action on Saturday at Subaru Park against the New York Red Bulls. Once again, this time it is an MLS regular season matchup. All right, yesterday's trivia question. I asked you, in honor of Ryan Sandberg being an All-Star from 84 to 93 every year, who's the only Philly to be an All-Star during that time frame at second base? And that would be Juan Samuel. He did it twice, 1984 and I believe 1989 he did that. More on his 1984 season is coming up later in the show. But thank you to everybody who reached out and tried to answer on the Discord channel. That is the first link in the description. So go check that out and let's have some good Philly sports discussion. We do have some Sixers news, albeit not very good Sixers news. Nick Nurse said on someone's podcast that he's not 100% certain that Joel Embiid will be ready for training camp. Despite everything we've heard, despite the fact that we're still waiting on the update from the surgery in April. It was supposed to be update his status in 6 weeks. We're still waiting. But doesn't look, he's not positive. He doesn't say it's not going to happen. He just said he's not 100% sure. All signs seem to be positive, though, with the recovery. They want him to be fully healthy. And if you read the article in ESPN earlier this summer, Joe basically said, I ain't coming back until I'm fully healthy anyway. So we'll kind of continue to monitor this. This was one of those things I just kind of saw fly under the radar. However, I don't know if that was like an afternoon news dump or what, but the news is not positive out of Sixers camp. But speaking of positive, let's go into the top 5 list for the first 25 years of the century. Yesterday, we did the top moments in Flyers history. Not really many people adding to that, so that makes me feel good that I got it right. But today, we're going to look at the top 5 moments in Phillies history since 2000. Lots of honorable mentions on this list. You have Victorino's grand slam off of CC Sabathia. That same game, Brett Myers at bat, where he just, both at bats really, where he just kept fouling pitches off and then worked the walk. Obviously, the last day of the 2007 season when they won the division after the Marlins came out and pounced the Mets. Chase Utley, you are the man, just because it's one of the best Harry Kalas calls. Chase Utley's fake throw in the World Series to save a run. Joe Blanton's homer earlier in the World Series. The bat spike by Rhys Hoskins, the comeback that year in 2022 against the Cardinals, where it just started with Gene Segura having a little bloop hit. Roy Halladay's perfect game is an honorable mention. And then Cole Hamels' no-hitter in his final start as a member of the Philly. So all of those moments are great, but which moments made the list. Well, let's start with number 5 and go back to Roy Halladay and his no-hitter against the Reds in the playoffs in 2010. Just one of the all-time great debuts in the postseason. First ever postseason game, goes out, throws a no-hitter. And just remember how disappointing that they ran into the buzzsaw that were the Giants in the NLCS. But Roy Halladay's no-hitter in the playoffs is number 5 on the list. Jimmy Rollins' walk-off double in the 2009 NLCS Game 4 is number 4 on the list. I was in the crowd for that game, and just one of the greatest moments ever. You just knew it was going to happen, and he just laced it to the gap. Phillies walk it off, end up beating the Dodgers once again for the second straight year, going back to the World Series. But Rollins' walk-off double in 2009 is number 4. Number 3, Bedlam at the Bank. What a big moment for Bryce Harper. Obviously, by far, the highlight of his time here so far in Philly. Made even better by Scott Fransky's call on the radio. But big moment, set the tone, and helped get the Phillies to the World Series. Lost in all that, I will say, obviously Bedlam at the Bank is the moment. But lost in that is the job that Ranger Suarez and the bullpen did there late in the game to kind of keep things close and to allow Bryce to even have that moment. Number 2, we're going to do another big-time hit in the NLCS. Matt Stairs' Game 4 home run against the Dodgers off of Jonathan Broxton in the 8th inning to give the Phillies the 7-5 lead, winning Game 4, and then just making it a formality before the Phillies went to the World Series, winning Game 5 the next day. But that was an absolute moonshot. They brought him in for that reason. All he did was hit pinch hit home runs, and he hit probably the biggest pinch hit home run of his career to give the Phillies the win, because it was going back and forth. Phillies lose that. It's 2-2 with Game 5 in LA. Not necessarily where you want to be, but Matt Stairs comes in at number 2 on the list. And then finally, the greatest moment in my Philly fandom. The number 1 spot goes to Brad Lidge throwing the strike past Eric Hinsky, falling to his knees, Chooch coming out, Ryan Howard coming in, Shane Victorino doing the frog splash on top of the pile. Phillies win the World Series in 2008. That is number 1 on the list. So we got number 5, Roy Halladay's no-hitter in the playoffs against the Reds in 2010. Number 4, Jimmy Rollins' walk-off double against the Dodgers in the NLCS in Game 4. Number 3, Bedlam at the Bank 2022, Bryce Harper's home run against the Padres in the NLCS. Number 2, Matt Stairs hits one into the night, as Joe Buck said. Game 4 of the NLCS, that homer to give the Phillies the lead off of Jonathan Broxton, who was just unhittable at that time. And the number 1 Phillies moment since 2000, strike 3 on Eric Hinsky. Brad Lidge falls to his knees. Chooch comes out, and the rest, as they say, is history. But who's too high? Who's too low? Did I miss any? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line, any of my social media, as well as the Discord channel. Let me know who I missed, but those are my top 5 Phillies moments since 2000. Notice most of them are from 2007 on, because there weren't too many great moments pre-2007. This Day in Philly Sports History is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, a growing community of diehard fans turning their sports passion into something special. Whether you're looking for unique shows, want to launch your own podcast but don't have the time, or need production services, theclashingconferences.com has everything you need. Explore fan-driven content, become a member, or tap into their media services to level up your brand. That's clashingconferences.com, where fans' voices get heard. All right, it is Thursday. That means it's time for Throwback Thursday, brought to you by Beach Caddy. Still not too late to take a trip to the Jersey Shore, and if you are going, let Beach Caddy take the stress out of it. Use the promo code Jimbo to take 15% off your move-in, move-out service, as well as beach cart rental. Even if you're going down for the day, rent a beach cart. Best beach carts at the Jersey Shore. We talked a little bit about this earlier in the week, and in honor of that winning streak coming to an end on this day yesterday, back in 1991, let's take a deeper dive into that Phillies 13-game winning streak in 1991. And it started July 30th. The Phillies were 40-58, 19 and a half games back of the Pirates. When it ended, they won 13, and heading into that 14th game, they were 53-58, cut the lead to 12 and a half, got out of the basement, and things were actually, for the first time in my life, really, as a Philly fan, minus maybe the 1986 season, things were looking good for the Phillies. You were excited to watch them. They were pitching well. They were hitting well. Wes Chamberlain hit .447 with 3 homers in the first 8 games. And then Charlie Hayes kind of picked up the slack the second half after Wes Chamberlain went cold. Dickie Thon got into it, had 8 RBI over the last game. Lenny Dykstra, 4 multi-hit games, 6 stolen bases during the streak. The one guy who did not do much, and he wasn't quite who he would end up being yet, if that makes sense, is Darren Daulton. Darren Daulton only hit .158 during the streak. He was still like a year away. 92 was kind of like that breakout season for him. Mitch Williams actually pitched well the entire streak. Went 5-0 with 2 saves, pitched 10 and 2/3 scoreless innings in 8 appearances. Terry Mulholland was a stud, 2 complete game wins. But as they say, all good things must come to an end. And when they went to try to win number 14, they lost to the Pirates. Now, the number 13 was very unlucky for the Phillies. So they got the winning streak to 13. The streak ended on August 13th. And it just so happened to also be the 13th straight time that the Pirates beat the Phillies. So there you go. They did finish that season pretty hot, though. They finished 78-84, third place. It was their best finish since that 1986 season. So lots of things, excitement and things to look forward to for the 1992 season. Unfortunately, it did not play out that way. Phillies had a very down year in 1992. But the good thing was the core of that team, Kruk, Daulton, Dykstra, Mulholland, even Wes Chamberlain was on the 93 Phillies. The core of that team learned how to win a little bit and kind of saw what it took and what they could do, what the potential was. Tommy Green was on that 91 team. So it was good in the sense that it helped lay the foundation for that 93 team. But for Throwback Thursday, the Phillies did win 13 games in a row in 1991 and really turned that season around. And I still think I remember the excitement going into the 92 season. Just didn't play out for a variety of reasons that way. But then the moves that were made by Lee Thomas to go into that 93 season with that core, who most of them were on the 91 team that won 13 games in a row, really played a role in that. But the lucky number 13 for the Phillies was not so lucky that day. Winning streak ends at 13, ends on the 13th, 13 straight loss to the Pirates. And that is Throwback Thursday, brought to you by Beach Caddy. Don't forget, it's still not too late to squeeze a little bit of summer. So go to Beach Caddy and use the promo code Jimbo to take 15% off beach cart rentals. And if you're staying for a week, move in, move out services as well. All right, July 14th is a day of milestones in Phillies history. So a lot of these are going to be quick hitters, but many, many milestones happened on this day. First, we're going to go back to 1981. Phillies beat the Mets 8-4 up at Shea Stadium. Mike Schmidt hit a 2-run homer off of Mike Scott for his 300th career home run. He would end up going on to hit 248 more as a member of the Phillies. And absolutely crushed this one. Almost hit it, if you remember the way Shea Stadium was set up, almost hit it over and past the bullpen. So just a great blast for Mike Schmidt for home run number 300. 1 year later, the Phillies beat the Expos 15-11. Pete Rose went 2 for 5 with a double. In the process, broke Hank Aaron's major league record for career at-bats when he got up to bat for the 12,365th time. Pete now has retired, I should say, with 14,053, far and away the most at-bats in Major League history. So Pete Rose breaks Hank Aaron's at-bat record in 1982. 2 years later, 1984, Phillies lose to the Padres 3-2, but Juan Samuel stole his 56th base. setting the modern Phillies team record. That year was great for Juan. He was an all-star, rookie of the year, number 2 in the voting for rookie of the year, I should say. Ended up stealing 72 bases on the season, which still stands as the Phillies' modern record. There were a couple guys in the 1800s that stole more, but for all intents and purposes, the record is Juan Samuel with 72. Jimmy Rollins then had himself a day in the 2000s. First, in 2006, Phillies beat the Mets 13-0. J-Roll hit his 18th home run of the season, setting the team record for home runs by a shortstop, breaking Granny Hamner's record. He would finish with 25 for the year and then break his own record the next year when he hit 30 in 2007. And then 6 years later, in 2012, Jimmy was playing in his 1,731st game, breaking Larry Bowa's record for games at shortstop. Jimmy, though, wasn't done. Led off the game with a home run as the Phillies beat the Marlins 1-0. So lots of milestones set in Phillies history this day. We got Mike Schmidt, Pete Rose, Juan Samuel, and Jimmy Rollins, some of the all-time greats in Philly history. And that does lead to today's trivia question. Since 2000, Juan Samuel in 1984 has the Phillies' modern record with 72. But since 2000, who has the most stolen bases in a season for the Phillies? That ties in perfectly with our top 5 for the first 25. So which Philly has the most stolen bases in a season since 2000? Be sure to check out Philly GOAT. Great partner with us. The Go Phils shirt with all the different pictures of people named Phil on it is going viral. They shouted it out on the Phillies game. So be sure to go get your Go Phils shirt and use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. Also, don't forget, if you're listening, it takes 10 seconds to do. Like, subscribe, leave a review if you have a couple extra seconds. Leave a comment. I respond to all comments, no matter how ridiculous they are. So all of that stuff helps us outsmart the algorithm. Not saying your comment's going to be ridiculous. Talking about the people that tell me my feelings aren't valid. Those people, I still respond to them. But yeah, it takes 30 seconds. So do me a solid. Like, subscribe, hit the button, whatever phrase you want to use, and let's outsmart the algorithm. Don't forget the trivia question. Which Philly has the most stolen bases in a season since 2000? Jimmy Rollins setting records today. Phillies records on this day. Juan Samuel setting Phillies records on this day. Pete Rose setting Major League Baseball records on this day. Mike Schmidt hitting milestones. It's a good day for the Phillies. Hopefully that mojo goes and takes the field tonight in D.C. as the Phils look to get back on the winning side. Oh, and by the way, I did not mention this, but if you want to feel a little bit better about the Phillies losing 8-0 last night, the Mets were up 6-0. They lost 11-6 to the Braves. So no harm, no foul in the standings. Mets are going to Met. As bad as the week was for the Phillies in Cincinnati, at least you're not a Mets fan. It's the second time this week they've done that. So you hate to see it. It's just, I don't know what's better. Seeing the Cowboys just waiting to explode as a dumpster fire or seeing the Mets Met. I'm going with the Mets because it's fun. Because they all talk their trash. All you Mets fans out there, talk your trash. And then you had one good series last year. You caught us when we were just, for whatever reason, we didn't have anything in the playoffs last year. And I haven't heard the end of it. But here we are, another mid-August. Mets fans talking their trash. Mets in first place. And the Mets are Metting. There you go. I just invented a verb. So, muck the Fets. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for August 14th, 2025. My name's Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Thursday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.